tonight.
All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Another night. We have a stream. Got a couple of dudes on here who are going to help out. And they're not particularly involved in this Dolton thing a lot, but we're going to play a documentary, or an expose, I should say, at the start that'll get everybody up to speed. Most of my followers probably are not that aware of what's going on in Dolton, Illinois, but it is beyond anything I've ever seen before. So let me introduce myself. I'm Johnny Walker Dread. I own the Johnny Walker Dread channel. I have about 1,000 videos. About 400 of them are on Kyle Rittenhouse and the Kenosha shootings. I have easily far more publications, if you want to call a video a publication, on the Kenosha shootings than anybody probably in the world. So I consider myself a pretty good expert on the Kenosha shootings. And there's a handful of people who do know more about it than me, but there aren't many. So I have a couple of guys who could probably give me a run for the money, and they're joining me here. Before I introduce them, though, I also have been publishing some other stuff. I have a physics of firearms video coming out. I have taught physics at the university level. I've taught graduate physics, so I know the field pretty well. I also know firearms pretty well, so I decided to combine them. And this is not some gimmicky, layman's interpretation. This is real physics. So if you're interested in the physics of firearms, you might want to check that out. I have one posted so far. Another one I do a lot of is Rashad Ritchie. I hate the bastard. I really, really do not like him. And I have almost 100 videos where I'm exposing his faulty reasoning, lies, and his totally faked, fabricated academic background. Oh, that is right in itself. He reminds me of the Tiffany Henyard of academia. It's just very much like that. But I also have a lot of things. I do a lot of videos on the myth of police brutality. So claims that, that police officers are naturally inclined to shoot people of color over others. It's a ridiculous myth. And I do a lot of videos on that. So if any of those topics interest you, you really should go to my channel and subscribe to it, because I put out probably about a video a day. With that said, let's go on. Freddie, how about you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us as much as you want.
Yeah, I mean, I met you and I became friends with you through defending Rittenhouse on Twitter. So anything Rittenhouse related, you could find me under there as Freddie. So
yeah. Freddie and I, we take on all comers. People go in, a bunch of morons, and they post stupid stuff. And we are diving in there and refuting them pretty much all day, every day, 24/7.
Yeah. Well, the thing I think me and you get along is because we just go with the facts, even if it's against Kyle, or we don't have to blindly defend him for everything he does. It's you just stick to the case, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with everything that he's been doing after the trial. I don't think that he's done anything wrong. I just don't like the strategy. I don't like his style, and unfortunately, he took that as a personal thing, and he blocked me. Has he blocked you?
He never followed me, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's blocked me, which is, in my opinion, pretty immature. But that's the way he is. When he turns about 26, I think he'll start to see what it's all about. I am not anti-Kyle. Okay.
No, me neither. But he does not know how to do PR.
I'd rather deal with an honest person that goes after a person's actual faults instead of needing to push propaganda.
Yeah,
which is probably why I get along so well with people like you and Freddie.
There you go. I mean, we don't have to. We're not going to idolize him.
Oh no, I don't idolize him. I try to keep it to stuff that he did in Kenosha. Anything else is just noise, and that's it.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself while you're on it?
Okay. I am Cigar Monkey. I love smoking cigars, drinking things that's bad for me, and I will criticize Kyle when it comes to it, and I do support his right to carry and defend himself.
Right. And all of us, and you included, we go in, you can see us on Twitter all the time refuting people making stupid arguments. I do have, by the way, a series of videos called Dumb Arguments about the dumb arguments that people make about the Kenosha shootings. And now there's almost 100 of them. So there's a playlist called Dumb Arguments, and you should watch that. Everybody.
See, I have a different perspective from you guys because as a Canadian, I have totally different laws that we have that you guys do. So it kind of gives me a different view on things like self-defense, two-way, and stuff like that. For a Canadian, I am very two-way.
Yeah.
You're very what?
Two-way. Second Amendment.
Oh,
I think we need one.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, you don't have one.
The reason they bring up the dumb arguments is because it's all deflection from the main argument when they're proven wrong. It's just they go down the list of lies and talking points every single time, and it just gets further away from what actually happened that night.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with them posting a comment that they think they're on safe ground. They find out that they're wrong, but they won't admit it, and so they just start digging themselves a hole. And we've seen it before many, many times. By the way, you're just going to have to speak up a little bit louder there, Freddie.
Okay.
The sad thing is, they do it even if it's the most benign post a person can do, like a picture of his dog.
Yeah. Oh, I know everything. I remember it was his. Let's not go there.
Okay, let's go to the topic that. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. I mean, I'm the one that started this whole thing anyway. Yeah. I want to talk about Kyle because I know so much about it, but we really have other things to do tonight.
Yes.
We have Tiffany Henyard, and I was never prepared for this level of corruption. Now, I wasn't the first to dive on this. I think that Actual Justice Warrior and Nate the Lawyer were before me, but I got on this pretty early. So I've been on this for a long time. And Hannibal, there's a guy named Hannibal that's got a lot of videos. He has probably the most in-depth discussions about it. He's been there from day one. So I am not the expert on Tiffany, but I do know quite a bit, and I know enough to get at least the ball rolling here. So what thought I would do is play about 15 minutes of an introduction that pretty well kind of sets the stage of what's going on in this little tiny town. Now, this town is about 15, 20 minutes south of Chicago. And it's the Chicago thing, and you're going to get the corruption there. That's truly amazing. But let me go ahead and start this thing up, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Hang on. Okay, let me go ahead and put this thing on the. Everybody can see it, I assume.
Yep.
Okay. If you don't hear it, let me open up the chat. I forgot. I gotta check to see who's checking in here. Unfortunately, I have my sunglasses on. A lot of this talk is about Kyle. Sorry, guys. I want to move on with it. So let's go ahead and get started.
How did the leader of a small village,
we got our mayor right here coming from Dolton, Illinois,
attract the attention of the entire nation and get nicknamed the worst mayor in America?
Everything she has initiated has been to promote her.
Questionable expenses.
I can map out their entire trip on the township credit card.
Expensive police details.
162 hours.
Oh, that's nothing.
And allegations of retaliation.
Did you take that as a threat?
I took that as bullying.
She's not shy about attracting attention.
It makes her feel as if she's like a superstar.
Until she starts facing questions.
Let me ask you a few questions.
Yeah, she says no.
I'm asking her. We're going to talk.
Now the feds are involved, and another controversial mayor is joining the story.
We want transparency.
With this much controversy coming from just one person, we gotta ask, who is Mayor Tiffany Henyard? And what's behind the drama in Dolton?
She cannot continue to intimidate and gangster her way through this.
Welcome. I'm Fox 32's Dane Placco.
By the way, they need to put some sort of warning when they put up, Lightfoot's picture, because people might be eating or something like, right?
You know what's scary though? When Lightfoot is calling you out, you know you messed up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's bad.
Okay, here we go.
Tiffany Henyard actually has two political jobs on two public payrolls. As mayor of South Suburban Dolton, or as she calls herself, Supermayor, and supervisor of Thornton Township, where she makes over $200,000 a year. Now, before Henyard's election in 2021, Dolton was like any other suburban community with festivals, parades, and its share of problems. But today, Dolton is known more for the mayor herself and the never-ending allegations that she's used and abused her two offices at Dolton and Thornton Township for pricey security details, trips to Vegas, unmissable highway billboards, and the curious donation of township tax dollars to a cancer charity named for, you guessed it, Mayor Henyard.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Tiffany Henyard certainly isn't shy about attracting attention. Here she is starting a Dolton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City.
And by the way, this is no accident. I think she watched this movie and she thought, this is the life I want. And New Jack City, the guy, by the way, the guy is Nino Brown. I haven't seen the movie, but everything tells me that he's just a really corrupt, bad dude.
Snipes did it better.
Yeah. By the way, she's carrying around a little stuffed dog because he had one. So she's doing everything she can. When your mayor shows up dressed up like this, that's not a good sign. No, this is bad. Okay, we move on.
Later, punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
Henyard's picture and name adorn virtually every public posting.
Okay, so just to give you an idea, she shows up with the DJ and go ahead.
Is that a city council meeting or something? I mean, she's thanking the DJ.
That was the same one.
I know, that's wild.
I mean, this is the most juvenile thing that you can imagine. I mean, really? Okay.
Both from Dolton, where as mayor she makes $46,000 a year, and in Thornton Township, where as the elected supervisor she collects more than $200,000 a year. But for all that money, Henyard's tenure at both has been chaotic, with firings, scandals, and a legal battle with the Dolton trustees over spending. So last fall, Henyard did something that would seemingly generate some good publicity, helping establish the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation to help breast cancer patients. And on the very day the charity was chartered, it received a huge donation, $10,000. From the Thornton Township Board, which Henyard presides over.
Taxpayer money shouldn't be paid into those types of things.
Stephanie Wiedemann is the former Thornton Township Chief of Staff, whom Henyard fired shortly after taking over in March of last year.
It almost felt like a takeover, and a very aggressive one at that.
Since her firing, Wiedemann has been documenting township spending and says she's stunned by the taxpayer dollars funneled into Henyard's charity. Especially this.
We got 10 days. We're going 196 miles.
Last October, Henyard led a delegation of Dolton and Thornton Township employees and political supporters on a march to Springfield to promote her breast cancer charity, which she documented on her Facebook page.
We're walking through Dolton. All right, we're in Brightwood now. We are in Godly now. We in Bloomington, baby.
I can pretty much map out their entire Springfield trip on the township credit cards.
That's right. Henyard billed thousands of dollars in hotel rooms and meals during the trip to Thornton Township and Dolton credit cards. In addition, the videos show Henyard used multiple village and township vehicles owned by taxpayers to escort the caravan, including a flatbed trailer with a photographer, flying a drone, and a DJ.
We got our mayor right here coming from Dolton, Illinois, walking all the way to Springfield. Y'all make some noise for our mayor, the people's mayor.
But they didn't always walk.
We on motorbikes, baby.
At times, riding electric bikes.
Y'all see my bike?
Our town ship
Supermayor.
It looks like a misspending of tax funds. I think that's the biggest concern.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I get that you need, if you're going to raise money for a charity, you need to, do some marketing. But there's no way that this charity could ever recover the amount of money they poured into this.
Yeah, they're spending.
I mean, they should be using their own vehicles if they're driving around.
I'm sorry, try again.
They should be using their own vehicles, not the city ones that they're paying for.
Oh, there's a lot more than that, but you're right. But she's paying for everything from the township monies.
Yep.
So, and a township can't support a charity like that. And there's all kinds of conflict of interest problems.
And she didn't walk that whole thing, even past the bikes. As soon as that camera went off, she's in a car. She's going 50 miles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. But anyway, let's continue on.
Dolton trustee James House has been doing battle with the mayor since she took office.
Very disturbing to hear these things or to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it. And I think the taxpayers really deserve better than that.
And then there's the merch.
And by the way, that James House, he's going to be running for mayor against her. He's a good dude. I actually like him a lot. I think he'll do a lot, but he's going to have a big problem. We'll see here later when we talk about where the village is now.
Shirt. Want a t-shirt?
Along the way, Henyard sold and gave away t-shirts and hoodies, also available on her charity's website. A week before the trip, the township paid $17,000 for specially printed hoodies and t-shirts, but won't say what they're for.
I think that everything she has initiated has been something to promote her, something to get her name in household, something to get people to buy into voting for her.
Our investigation found at least $11,000 in public funds spent on that trip. But both Dolton and Thornton Township have been slow or unresponsive to open records requests. So what was the purpose of the 10-day march to Springfield?
I have created a bill, which we're going to speak before the Revenue Committee, to give everybody $5,000 on their income tax when they file, if you are suffering from cancer.
A noble goal, except the Revenue Committee wasn't meeting when the group arrived in Springfield. Henyard did later testify at a committee hearing in Chicago, but so far nothing has come of her bill.
I think I'm doing a damn good job on leave.
So we went to a recent Thornton Township Board meeting to ask Henyard some questions about all that spending.
I've never ever been bitter to the news. This is my olive branch to the media. Can you guys reach out to us and ask us our opinion before you post this? I would appreciate it.
And so we did.
I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
But Henyard wasn't anxious to talk about her charity.
Why did you and the board vote to give your foundation $10,000?
I'm the face of the foundation. My name is nowhere, sir. I'm the face.
You're the face. What was the purpose of going to Springfield?
Thank you guys. Hey, she doesn't have any more comments.
And she blatantly lied there. She's far more than the face. And I don't think we have a video here to show this, but her old Facebook page, which covered her old burger joint that she pitched to the Shark Tank. And I have a video on that, by the way. It's hilarious. But her old Facebook magically became the CARES Foundation one. She just simply changed the content from the old burger joint to the CARES Foundation, and now claims, though, that she has nothing to do with it, that she's just the face of it. I mean, the lady can lie like as smoothly as I've seen. So, by the way, the burger joint deal, she opened up a burger joint restaurant and then pitched to the Shark Tank because she wanted $100,000 to expand it to Chicago. It is a riot. It is absolutely everything you don't want to do if you're pitching to the Shark Tank. So I have a video on it. If you go to my channel, and a bunch of other people have done it too, because it is so funny.
No, we're going to talk.
She doesn't have any more comments. Thanks, guys.
That's Keith Freeman, whom Henyard hired at both Dolton and Thornton Township and was part of her Springfield walk.
Look at Keith, baby!
Freeman also filed paperwork for the charity bearing Henyard's name.
Why are you using public money for your personal charity?
$17,000 for insurance. Why?
And with that, her security detail hustled Henyard upstairs and blocked the staircase with a table.
Hey guys,
So we tried asking another employee who went on that trip.
You went down to Springfield, and what were you hoping to do
You
in
need to ask the
Springfield?
people that handles that. I'm not the one that handles that. I was just riding the bike.
We need more officers on the streets. We need our streets repaved. So to spend that kind of money on a charitable event or supposed charitable event really doesn't seem like the best use of taxes.
I want you to notice something, and this is for the viewing audience. Notice the way that he speaks versus the others. And I'm going to talk about this because I actually wrote up a script for a video that I decided to just read tonight. But notice the demeanor and the manner of speaking. He's calm. He's talking very carefully. As compared to the bombastic, stuff that you're getting from her and Stanley. So, yeah, I mean, I can trust this guy. I'm not trusting
him. I would seriously trust him. I would trust him.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, I can trust him. You never can tell, right? There's no guarantees of anything. But go ahead.
By his demeanor, he's like the kind of guy I would have a beer with and just start talking about anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but this manner of speaking that he's doing doesn't cut it in some of these communities. And that's what got Dolton in all this trouble in the first place. But I'm kind of foreshadowing what I'm going to be talking about.
Take a drive to the south suburbs and you can't miss them. 4 giant billboards featuring Tiffany Henyard's name in large letters, along with her picture, smiling down on the thousands of cars going by on Interstate 57 and the Bishop Ford Expressway. What are they advertising? One says fresh produce, another senior services, and this one simply says we offer general assistance. There's a phone number, but you wouldn't know what it's for unless you can read in teeny tiny letters, Thornton Township Supervisor, as you're speeding by.
These are the billboards that have gone up along the expressways.
We showed the billboards to Bert Odelson, an election attorney who's been working in Illinois politics for 50 years.
When I first looked at it, I thought, what is she running for now? Because that's what it shouts out.
Odelson, who represents a political faction opposed to Henyard and Dolton, says it's clear the billboards are promoting more than township services. He says they're essentially campaign ads.
This is a blatant attempt to promote herself politically. The township should not have paid for these if they did, and I'm sure they did.
They did indeed. Bills obtained by Fox 32 under open records laws shows Thornton Township paid more than $10,000 for the vinyl signs themselves and more than $12,000 to Clear Channel Outdoor Advertising for 1 month's rental of the billboards.
What was your reaction when you saw it?
Well, first of all, I didn't know anything about them.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says the board was never consulted about the billboards, which he says needed their approval.
Kind of some of the first things that popped in my mind is, what are we doing? This isn't a big sale. We're not selling cars here. I mean, if it's informational, then it should be informational. I mean, there's so many other ways we could have spent that money.
Okay, by the way, just as an update, talking about signs, Tiffany Henyard had this idea that she was going to build a new police station because her buddy is like the police chief, right? And she was going to build this new police station for the town. So what does she do? She spends $50,000 on a new sign for the police station, but can't afford anything else. So they have spent $50,000 on a sign for a police station that will never be built. Where normally you would build the police station first and then you buy the sign later. But that's how she operates. She's completely incapable of making a good decision. Okay, let's go ahead.
That would have, directly help people.
This isn't the first time Henyard has used taxpayer dollars to burnish her own personal image. In fact, on other occasions, she spent a lot more.
And you can't turn your head in Dolton or Thornton Township without seeing Henyard's picture or name. It's on all the government-owned vehicles, buildings, even on the rugs in the township, where we found a Tiffany Henyard 2024 calendar featuring all the important dates to remember, including her birthday.
I would be having a fit if she was my client, telling her not to do this.
Veteran Chicago political consultant Delmarie Cobb says there would be nothing wrong if Henyard were using her own political funds for those promotional materials, especially the billboards.
I actually had a candidate years ago who was running for mayor of Dolton, and that's what we did. We bought billboards along the expressway, because if you're coming and going home all day, and one of the things I always say about billboards is they're working when you're asleep.
In 2011, state lawmakers passed a law banning the practice of politicians putting their names on publicly funded signs.
And by the way, she has a calendar printed with her birth date on it. Why do you think she wants everybody to know what her birthday is?
Maybe she's hoping to get presents.
Yep, absolutely. That's what that was about. I mean, the whole idea of a mayor having a calendar printed with her birthday marked on it is ludicrous. I mean, you would just never do that.
I kind of wonder if December had her Christmas list.
I don't know. Yeah, she probably has like, like, what do they call that when you have a wedding and you have, like a list?
A gift registry.
A registry, yeah. I'm wondering if she has a registry. Maybe on Amazon. We'll talk about Amazon here in a little bit.
Spurred by these tollway signs featuring former Governor Rod Blagojevich. That law does not extend to mayors or other elected officials, but election attorney Odelson believes the billboards do violate state election laws.
It's a crime. Yeah, you're using public funds for something that taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used for.
And just when you think you've seen it all, take a look at this. When the first billboard went up last summer, Thornton was misspelled as Thornton. Another sign had to be ordered, apparently at taxpayer expense. In videos posted by Henyard herself, we see her being driven around and surrounded by Dolton officers, which got us to wondering, why all the cops?
We weren't opposed to her having the security detail. We asked how long and how often.
Dolton trustee Brittany Norwood says Henyard began assembling her details shortly after being elected in 2021, using hand-picked Dolton police officers. Using a Freedom of Information request, we obtained the work records for 6 of the officers assigned to Henyard's security detail at various times, and showed them to some of Dolton's trustees.
This is a Freedom of Information request we did to see how much overtime these officers are making on her security detail.
Oh, wow. 162 hours.
162. Oh, that's nothing. What goes through your mind when you see these numbers?
It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours.
Just take a look at this. This is the mayor of a town of 20,000 people. I mean, I know a mayor personally that heads a town of around 15,000. And there's no security. None. She doesn't get any security. Because you would never think that person would need it. Now, she's got a gun. So she's her own security, right? But, I mean, look at this. And there's a reason why she's doing this. It's because it makes her feel like Al Capone. This makes her feel powerful to have those guys walking around with her. Nobody can mess with me. That's what this is about. She's not concerned about security. She takes them when she goes to Vegas. I mean, you really think that people in Vegas are out to get her? Crazy.
I mean, not going to lie. My first thought when you said Chicago was Capone.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you said this place was in near Chicago, my first thought was gangsters and Capone.
Well, it's Chicago. It's Illinois politics, right? But yeah, she really looks up to these gangsters. She really, really wants. I think it was somebody else. I think it was Nate the lawyer that said that she wants to be the president. No, she doesn't want to be president. She wants to be boss hog. And, she wants to rule that town with an iron fist. She wants to be feared. And that's what that whole security ensemble is designed to invoke fear amongst the population. Got asked, she got a gun? Oh, I don't know. Probably not. I don't think she needs one. Okay, here we go.
Hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How? How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
There's 336
Does he never
hours.
go to sleep?
In fact, there are
336 hours of total, and he put in 303. Yeah. Okay. Sure. He was Gardner in his sleep.
336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period. Other officers on the security detail are also racking up overtime paychecks in the multiple thousands of dollars.
Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she said no.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dolton giving out water on a 100-degree day.
And by the way, you'll notice the reporter asks her, I have some questions, and the police officer says, absolutely not. You can't ask her. Hey, dude, you are a police officer. You're not private security. But that's the problem. Those guys think they're private security for her. And you can see it coming out there. Like, no police officer should ever tell a reporter the mayor is not speaking to you.
Exactly. Looks like Freddie needs to be allowed back into the chat.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Oh, great. Now there's 2 Freddies. 3 Freddies.
That's way too many.
Okay, that's too many Freddies.
Johnny, I thought you were ignoring me. I was talking.
You sent the message to me.
Well, once the show starts, it doesn't like give me a bing or anything like that when somebody comes in. So I can't tell.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and continue on.
Surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and 2 videographers documenting for Dolton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dolton and stop telling lies.
But when we gave her an opportunity to explain the OT,
Mayor, why do you need so many officers, details, or your security?
What did you say, water? It sounded like you said water.
earlier that day, we watched as a Dolton cop drove Henyard from her other job at Thornton Township to a Mexican restaurant for lunch. Trustees say the security detail picks the mayor up at her home in the morning and is with her until she's dropped off at night, often taking her on errands and shopping.
Does she need a security detail?
Absolutely not. Why? Why would you?
Well, she probably needs one now. she created the situation.
She might be into some illegal stuff.
You're going to have to speak louder.
She might be stuff.
Well, yeah. Oh, she's in illegal stuff, all right. It's not like
I meant like street stuff. Like
no, I don't think so, because she would consider that now beneath her, unless like she thinks she's a drug warlord, right?
I mean, this is Dolton. I mean, it's not like as far as I know, it's not a high crime area to begin with.
Yeah, it's got moderate crime. I mean, it probably has higher crime than the normal, but keep in mind the city that I worked with, and I know the mayor, is far poorer than Parlier, and was the second highest crime riddled town in the state of California. And in California, that's saying something. It ranks second to Stockton. So, and the mayor there does not have a security detail.
She probably has half the police force following her around. It's a small town.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, this town that I'm telling you about, somebody shot up the police headquarters.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's extremely violent, but the mayor there doesn't even have a security detail.
You need a security detail.
Oh, she loves it. She just loves it. She loves the detail. I think it makes her feel as if she's like a superstar.
Dolton trustees have filed a lawsuit against Henyard, saying she's not justified the need for security and is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on it without the board's approval.
I see no justification whatsoever, and more than that, it's really a detriment to the residents of Dolton.
How so?
The residents, if we would take the same money and put it on officers patrolling the streets, then the residents will see a much better presence and public safety would be better.
We've had a few shootings, so we need the extra police patrolling our streets instead of patrolling her.
And we found
patrolling her. I think that's what they're doing.
Dolton credit card statements showing that Henyard takes the detail with her even when she travels out of town, spending thousands of dollars on plane tickets, lodging, and meals for the officers.
Mayor, why are you taking all the officers out of town with you? Isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money?
Let's go to this one right here, 30 times.
Anything you want to say to defend yourself on this?
As for the village's finances, trustees say Dolton is now getting sued by some vendors for failure to pay its bills.
In the last 2 fiscal years, we're $5 million in the hole, and a big part of it is the security detail.
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. You don't see the governor with a detail as hers.
Several months after we broke the story about Henyard's expensive security detail, we got confirmation that it was impacting the ability to fight crime in Dolton. And that came in an exclusive Fox 32 interview with somebody who would know. Dolton's now.
Okay, so I'm going to hit. We can't play this thing because only about halfway through. But yeah, any thoughts?
Besides, wow.
It's like a
Okay,
bad
so
movie.
let me.
It's
Go
like
ahead.
a bad movie. It looks like she just wants to be. She likes the attention, the lifestyle. She wants to act like. That's why she brings him out of town. She wants to be that big shot everywhere she goes.
Yeah, and keep in mind, why is she walking around the streets of Dolton with the police? She's giving out free water. So she's knocking on the doors of houses, and when they open, she's giving them a bottle of water. And you think,
Is she afraid they are going to attack her? The people she's giving free stuff to? Why does she need the security?
well, she needs the security because this is a shakedown. This is designed to tell everybody in the city that I'm in charge, and look at all these thugs that I've got around me. That's
True.
what this was about. You really think that a person inside a house needs a bottle of water? They don't have like a sink, you know? So yeah, they don't need no water. That was her pretense so that she could do her little patrols and knock on the doors. And of course, all those guys are surrounding her, and she's sending a message. Okay, let's see here. If you need that much security, you are doing something wrong. Well, yeah, because she needs the security now. She created that. For each, oh yeah. Yeah, I wonder how much each bottle cost that she gave out, paying all those guys overtime. And there's something that you have to know about what's going on here. And I'm going to tell you now because I might forget later. Typically, a mayor just can't go out and buy things. Now, it depends on the form of governance. There's a strong mayor type of governance, and there's others. And I think that Dolton has a strong mayor form. And the idea behind that is that the mayor can only spend on what is board approved as long if it's over a certain amount. Okay. However, every check has to be signed by two people, the mayor and I think it's the county clerk it's the local clerk.
How is she getting away with this?
Well, guess what she did? She went to the bank and somehow managed to get it to where only she has to sign the checks in order for the bank to pay out.
She probably She probably had her guys with guns with her.
Yeah, that might have been it. Although in the bank, I'm not sure that would have that would have went over well. But so now at this point, she made it to where she can access the funds for the city, and she's supposed to get board approval, but she can spend the money, write the checks, get her goodies, and then ask the board for approval later. And of course, the board says, well, you can't have that. Well, she's already spent it. So she's been doing that. That's how she works. She buys it and then doesn't tell anybody. The board finds out about it, but it's already been purchased. Isn't that crazy?
And there's no recourse. There's no. Are we going to get to that?
Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. I am from Shimada. Canada. Okay, this is.
Please, the proper term for Canada is Canuckistan.
Oh, is there a Canuckistan? Justin Castro has a huge motorcade around him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does. Ever since the COVID demonstrations, I think he's almost needed them because there's a lot of people that don't like him. We had a poll up here where Trump was more popular than Trudeau.
That's great.
We have another question. Is she a Democrat? The mayoral race in Dolton is it doesn't have a political party affiliation. However, she did go to Biden's party and made a big deal out of the fact that she was meeting President Biden. She's a Democrat. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Let's see what we've got here.
Why is it I can almost picture her sitting behind a desk, Godfather style, wanting people to kiss her ring?
Well, that's what she wants. I mean, ultimately, that's her fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one more here. Well, not one more. We're going to have a lot of more here to go over. But here is a good taste of what she's about.
Hey, y'all! It's your mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor.
Well, let me start. She's at a ice rink that she paid for but never got board approval for. This is the construction of a new ice rink. That's not cheap.
No.
And she never got board approval for it. And she named it after her daughter. Justice. Okay. That's ludicrous. You never would do that as a mayor. But anyway, she's here I guess it's the opening day for this new ice rink that she paid for by doing that little check thing I was telling you about. Let me start over. Okay, here we go.
It's your mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the people's mayor. We here in the village of Dolton, and we about to get our skate on. Remember, when all 5 of them trustees said no, look what God did. Hey.
All right. So what she said, because it was a little hard to make out, she said, what the board of trustees voted down or refused to support, God brought us. That's the ice rink. So she's saying that God brought the ice rink to them, when in reality, she wrote a check for it.
Yeah. She's
now, going back,
saying, screw the board, I'm going to do what I want, right to their face.
Yeah, absolutely, she's saying it. She's proud of it.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that Nino Brown deal. Remember I talked about earlier when she had that DJ and she was saying, "Give me my money." That was about the ice rink. People refused to pay it out on it, but yeah, I mean, it's like, but she got her money. So, yeah, that's how she operates. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oops, almost spilled my drink. I am drinking Evan Williams tonight, in case anybody cares. It's my go-to cheap bourbon, but I like it a lot.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, so what's happened? Let me go ahead and expand that. Okay. This is Nate the lawyer, and I really like Nate. Are you guys familiar with Nate?
Yeah, I've watched him a couple times. He seems like a really good guy.
Yeah.
I've seen him break down the media lies on the Rittenhouse case, and he did it really well.
He does a pretty good job at all of it. And so he's been following this Tiffany Henyard thing for a long time. So let me give you the build up here. Things got so bad in Dolton that they turned to Lori Lightfoot to save them. Let that soak in. So, let's see here. We have a comment here. A stream with. Oh, okay. The stream with someone. Okay, so yeah, I don't do a lot of streams, but good to have you aboard. Go and subscribe to my channel.
Yeah,
but
you're
anyway,
here now. That's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so things got really bad in Dolton because Tiffany Henyard, here's another thing she does. The Board of Trustees would try to place things on the agenda to discuss, and she refused to put them on there. So if you want to discuss the city's finances, you have to put it on the agenda. But she would say, no, I don't want it on there. so the city's finances rarely ever came up, but it was pretty clear that things were getting pretty bad. There was a lot of rumblings that the city was in millions in debt because of her spending. But again, she's hiding it all. And you're going to see in this report here as to how she got away with it. But at any rate, it got so bad that they called in Lori Lightfoot to do an investigation. So Lori Lightfoot, over a period of like 2 or 3 weeks, did the investigation. Now, Lori got lucky because there's a private company that handles the books for the city, and that private company turned over the stuff to Lori. I don't think they had to, but they did.
How does Lightfoot have any jurisdiction over her? Wouldn't that be the governor?
She doesn't have any. It's a private contractor, like a private investigator.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all it is. So Lori has no subpoena power. She has no arresting power. All she can do is gather the information she can and put together a report.
Okay.
What's that?
And she could give it to the right people. I just was confused of why she was brought in. That's all.
I think she was, well, first of all, she's a former prosecutor. She's also a big name. And remember, this is the Chicago area. So I can almost understand, although I would not have trusted Lori with anything. To be honest, though, she did a pretty good job here. And we're going to have now Nate talking over the reports. Now, the reason why I have Nate here instead of just the original report, the original video is in very bad shape. I don't know how Nate got a good one. So I decided I'm just going to play Nate's. So this is a little bit odd because I'm talking over his interpretation of, but I've done it before, so it's okay. Here we go.
Many of you know that the village's fiscal year runs from May 1 to April 30th. So it's those 12 months, but they spanned 2 years. Certain financial disclosures are mandated under state law that the village reports to the comptroller of the state each fiscal year. 2 documents that we're going to talk specifically about are the annual financial report, and you see the citation there, it's a state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2021. There's no annual financial report.
Yo, that's crazy. So the city, the town of Dolton hasn't provided the state financial records since 2020. That's what 3 years. That's insane. If you're in government, you have to show how you're using public funds. They just haven't shown anything. This is insane.
Okay, so it's a little bit even more extensive than this because by law, you're required to actually have an independent audit of your finances. And it has to be submitted to the comptroller. She hasn't done it for the last 2 years. And that means that the state can't track any kind of, let's say, issues. But because these are public documents, that keeps the true nature of the finances of the city away from the public. Because by law, you are required, at least in California, you are required to post those documents on your website. And by the way, another thing is it makes it really hard to apply for grants because any of your large, especially your foundation grants, they require the last 3 years of financial audits, and you don't have them, which means you're not eligible. So this is a serious deal. And I've worked with cities in the past about these financial audits. I haven't conducted them. And I know that the cities take them very seriously. She just blew it off completely. Okay, here we go.
This is crazy. How is Illinois not prosecuting her? That's like really insane.
Available after 2021 and no audited financial statements after 2021.
Yes.
So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by a CPA, but we do have information coming from an entity that essentially serves as the finance department of the village.
Now, Lori got lucky there because if that company had said, hey, we're not talking to you, Lori would have been out of luck because, I mean, she would have to ask Tiffany for the information, right? You ain't going to get that. Now, you might think, what about Freedom of Information Act? The city of Dolton or village of Dolton has had numerous courts order Freedom of Information compliance. Tiffany's decided, screw them, I'm not going to do them. So she basically has snubbed her nose at the court system too. She can't let people know the true state of the budget because then they'll find out what she's doing.
Historically, from what we can tell, the village has had small or no full-time financial staff.
I'm going to move forward.
Very director from January to after that match up with the information that's in the financial reports. And we've had the opportunity to talk to some of the folks at the Casper firm who are responsible for managing the finances of the village, and that work is ongoing. As of May 30th of this year, the village's general fund was in a net deficit position, meaning that there is insufficient funds in that general fund. As we mentioned, the general fund is used to account for the majority of the village's day-to-day operations, including payroll and vendor payments. The village's special revenue fund and debt service fund, however, are in a positive position, but each of those funds are restricted funds, meaning you cannot borrow from one to give to the other.
In other words, Tiffany couldn't get into those.
And that is what's causing, in part, the financial crisis. What's next you can see is a graphic that depicts where we started as of April, where the village started as of April of 22, with positive of $5.6 million in the general fund, and where we are as of May of 2024, which is a negative $3.65 million.
Wow.
So she drained the city out of $9 million just out of the general fund. Oh, there's another one coming.
And she thought nothing would happen?
Well,
I mean, if you control the records, I mean, there's not much people can do.
Yeah. Of course, at some point down the road, it's going to come to you. But keep in mind, people like Tiffany are very short-term thinkers.
Yes. She's covering her tracks a little bit, but they're not great.
Well, she covered her tracks, believe it or not, pretty well, given that she's still in power like 3 years after she got elected. And so she's been able to, through brute force, keep people away from getting in until now. And now we're finding out that the city is in serious trouble. The general fund, as Lori said, is what you typically pay out for most of your stuff in the city. You have special funds for grants. You have special funds for certain other things. It's the general fund that you pay for the majority of the things that you do. And it's the one that she has access to because she can write checks off of it. And that's what you're seeing here.
It's her personal piggy bank.
Yeah, exactly. But it gets worse. Hang on. And you might be thinking, there's no way it could get worse. Oh, it gets worse.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. In what? In 2 years, she took them from 5.6 million down to -3. That's what is it? That's an $8 million swing. So she's run through $8 million in 2 years. Wow.
Mayor Lightfoot, if I may.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Just kind of as a summary now.
Now to the increase.
Man.
Yep. All right. Turning now to the increasing expenditures of the village. Over the last 3 fiscal years, the average monthly expenditures of the village have increased by nearly 30%. As you can see in the graphic, in fiscal year 2022, on average, the village spent about $1.9 million a month. But in the last fiscal year, that amount had climbed to $2.5 million. These increasing expenditures have not been accompanied by corresponding increases in revenue. Again, as you see in the graph on the blue bars, the revenues have remained relatively the same over that time period, just over $24 million, while expenditures have climbed from $23 million in 2022 to $30 million in 2024.
So this is it. So if you look, when she got in the office, they were spending about looks like about a $1.1 million less than they were taking in. Revenue was higher by like 1.1 million. But now they're like 5 million. They're spending $5 million. Wow. She's essentially bankrupt the town. And the revenue, matter of fact, is essentially stable. She's literally you're literally saying, is this woman bankrupting this town?
Ultimately, in fiscal years 2023 and 2024, expenditures exceeded revenue. Specifically in 2024, it was over $5 million more in expenditures than revenues.
So what is she doing with all this money?
To look further at the increasing expenditures, the table on the screen highlights the 2 village departments that are the main drivers of this spending increase: the General Administration and Administrative Compensation Department and the Police Department.
Administrative compensation. I mean, that's checks. People been getting that money. Who do you think it is?
Well, that's your personnel costs. I mean, they're always going to be there. Keep in mind, just to put a little bit of, fairness here, police departments typically chew up a large part of a city's budget because you have like the police department, then you have the public works and stuff like that. But the police department has far more personnel than just about any department. So they're going to chew up a lot of the money. So that part I understand.
Turning first to the General Administration Department. Turning first to the General Administration line, the increase in expenditures here has grown about approximately 47%. This was around $6.4 million in fiscal year 2022, and it was $9.4 million in fiscal year 2024.
Increasing expenditures. That sounds like somebody's spending a lot of money.
They're spending more.
There have been increases in general administration spending in nearly every area, but there are a handful that stick out the most. As you can see on the first line, the largest driver of this increase is a more than double change in liability insurance cost. It's gone from 1.2 million in fiscal year 2022 to 3.2 million in fiscal year 2024. Other areas where we see large increases are miscellaneous expenditures, settlements, legal fees, and telephone.
Let me just add regarding the legal fees. These are everything that we're representing to you tonight are things that have been booked in one of the general ledgers or otherwise. We know that the legal fees that have been booked so far are underestimated. because there are a number of legal fees that have yet to be paid. And obviously, with the litigation that's been filed, particularly by vendors who have not been paid, those legal fees will definitely this is a very conservative estimate of what those fees actually are.
Right now, the city of Dolton has 40 lawsuits against them. And what she's saying is there's going to be a lot more. So those legal expenses are going to go up even more. In fact, the number of lawsuits was so great that their lawyer even quit on them for a while there. So it's kind of crazy because
is she using that piggy bank to pay for the lawyers?
Well, that's a good question, because here's the problem. The lawyer that sits next to her is supposed to be the lawyer for the village, but everybody knows he's the lawyer for Tiffany. So the trustees actually went and hired their own lawyer. So there's two lawyers for the village of Dolton, one representing Tiffany, one representing the trustees. However, here's the problem. The trustees voted for this new lawyer to come in, but Tiffany is the one that writes the checks. So guess what? This lawyer is not getting paid. No.
Wow.
No. Oh, that's going to come up here in a little bit. And that's why I say that the best is coming, because we just scratched the surface. It's going to get really bad here. But oh yeah.
I'm ready.
This is crazy. The miscellaneous is insane.
Let me drill a little bit down also in what we're seeing so far with the police department. Those expenditures have increased approximately 21% since FY 22. Some of that is obviously driven by the union contracts and making sure that there's retro pay and that the police officers are compensated according to the collective bargaining agreement. Within the police department expenditures, categories with
look at overtime. It went from about 800,000 to 1. She's doubled the police overtime. And remember, that's just for her. That's just for the people protecting her. She's doubled it. That's crazy.
With large increases include overtime, other miscellaneous expenses, and I will tell you we don't know exactly what that is, but we're working on unpacking that, contractual services, other professional services, and medical insurance. We wanted to highlight for you, particularly given overtime, what we saw as two outliers in officers, Officer Terry Young and Officer William Reed. Both of these individuals in the last 2 years have earned more in overtime than their base compensation. And you can see these numbers here.
I'm sorry, I gotta put this. So Terry Young was the one, he was on the news. Like, if you watch my other videos, you see Terry Young. He's the one that did like 300 hours in a week or something crap like that. Look at this number. He's making more doing overtime than his actual salary, and this other guy too. This is crazy. Remember that guy was working like 24 hours in a day. It was like some insane number. This is like totally corrupt. The whole crap.
Terry Young in FY 2023 earned $194,290 total, given the base salary and the overtime, and then in FY 2024 that increased to $227,351, combining the base salary and the overtime.
By the way, these police officers don't realize that they can end up going to prison for this. I'm sorry, but you knew or should have known that you were not entitled to all of this overtime pay. You had better be able to account for all that time you put in, and they can't. There's no police officer that put in 303 hours in a 2-week period. There's just no way that happened. So that's fraud, and that can get you in some serious trouble. What's worse is they may not have information that they can share to the FBI that can help the FBI. So now you have no leverage. So you can end up going up the creek here real easily. And keep in mind, these are police officers. They're supposed to be like protecting the public by obeying the laws. It's like,
They,
oh my God.
they
By the
seen
way,
the money coming in.
I'm sorry.
They seen the money coming in. They got blinded
Yeah.
just like she does.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how they could have started on this, right? Like, okay, I'm not doing much here and I'm getting some overtime, but hey, I could use the extra cash. I could see like an average person doing that. But after a while, you got to realize that, okay, this is a scam.
Yeah.
And as a police officer, you have to back out of that. But evidently they didn't.
Take as much overtime you're actually working, but don't do the extra. Don't take the extra stuff you didn't work. You know what I mean? Don't get greedy.
Well, greedy is a problem. Okay.
Yep.
Well, by the way, the police chief, that is a whole new can of worms. We're going to get to that. It's gotten freaky, but he's coming up next. Listen up.
Officer Reed for FY 2023 had a total earnings of.
By the way, somebody's breathing heavy or something. At any rate, let's just continue. I don't hear it now, so we're good.
Of $145,450, and officer, and in FY 2024, $192,732. We thought it also important for you to know that Acting Chief Lacey has accumulated overtime. It's our understanding that he is not part of the collective bargaining unit and has not been for some time, which under normal circumstances would mean that he is not entitled to overtime. But as you can see here, for FY22, FY23, and FY24, and we're now in fiscal year 2025, through those 4 years, he's accumulated $215,700.
Yo, the police chief is taking overtime like crazy.
Okay, just to clear up a thing or two. And somebody's still breathing heavy. I don't know who it is. But just to clear up a thing or two. You can be an exempt employee and collect overtime. Exempt means that the employer is not required to provide overtime. However, his collective bargaining unit contract doesn't allow for overtime. So he can't collect it, but he's collecting it anyway. So that's going to play a big role in something that's coming up here pretty soon. But he collected $215,000 over 3 years in overtime.
And he didn't work a
Let
second
that
of it.
soak
It sounds
in.
like.
What was that?
It sounds like he didn't work a second of it either.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. The crazy thing about this whole thing with Tiff is that she was a trustee for 6 years prior to becoming mayor. She knew trustees have to approve. Yeah. Keep in mind, when she was a trustee prior to becoming mayor, she was pounding the transparency thing, accusing the mayor of corruption and not doing the procedural way. And now she's become mayor. It's completely 180 degrees.
Yo, I don't know any department where the police chief gets overtime. This guy's making almost $100,000 a year in overtime. The police chief, usually the police chief don't get overtime. I don't know any department where your police chief gets overtime. Who's approving the police chief's overtime? It's got to be the mayor. This is corruption, people.
$147,000 just in overtime.
Just in overtime. And she hasn't been paying the bills. Where's this
Now
money
we're going to
going?
move, ladies and gentlemen, to unfunded expenditures. And this is really focused on, as we alluded to, we're going to move to unfunded expenditures. And this is really focused on checks that have been approved by the.
So just to be clear, this is probably what they were talking about, where there was some issues with the police chief, because he's not even, just so everybody understands, he's not eligible for overtime. He can't get, he's a salaried employee, but he's yet still getting paid overtime.
Board from warrant lists that have come before the Board of Trustees.
Okay, sorry, I kind of goobered up there, but what he's talking about is at this time, the police chief had been put on administrative leave, and nobody knew why. This is why. They found out that he was collecting overtime. Now, Tiff knew all about it, right? But then I guess the Board of Trustees, through Lori Lightfoot, found out that, wait, he's collecting overtime? He's not allowed to. So he got put on administrative leave. Now you think, well, that's the end of him, right? Yeah, not exactly. Hang on.
Who put him on leave? Her?
I don't know the power of that. I don't know if the
okay.
board of trustees can do it or what. Keep in mind though, that's an excellent question, because the whole deal about who gets to do what is really blurred in this town. And you're going to see that when it comes to the police chief.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
The whole thing of checks and balances seems to have evaporated.
But held and not sent to the vendors. Based on the records that we have reviewed since March of 2023, the village has been unable to pay all of its monthly expenditures with available cash balance. Since that time, nearly every month, a portion of the checks approved and printed have been held by the village due to unavailability of funds. Per records from the John Kasperick firm, as of June 18, 2024, there are 589 checks totaling over $6 million that have been approved, printed, but not transmitted to vendors.
This is crazy. So what is it?
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, so here's the deal. The board of trustees, if you're a vendor, okay, and you have done work for the city, you submit your invoice and the board of trustees approves it. Once the board of trustees approves it, that means that the city has to write a check to that vendor, right? Because the vendor has to be paid for their work. Well, they've been printing the checks, but Tiffany hasn't sent them out. Wow. 589 checks. Keep in mind, a ream of paper is 500. So you can imagine how many checks there are, a ream of paper, and they're totaling $6 million that she hasn't sent out because she doesn't have the money to pay them. But she can't tell the public that she doesn't have the money. So they've just been collecting in her drawer. And of course, the vendors are coming in and going, where's our money?
Yep,
and
these lawsuits are going to quadruple now that all this is coming out.
Oh, it's going to be horrible. 589 checks means 589 lawsuits. Essentially.
Yeah, she's screwed.
Yeah. So she doesn't, because she's blown all the money from the bank accounts. She doesn't have the money to pay them out, so she can't send the checks out. So they just keep piling up. So when you talk about being, what was it, $5 million in debt, that doesn't include this.
Wow.
Yeah. And by the way, it's going to get a little bit worse. Hang on.
What does she do with the money? If they say, all right, pay this $6 million to these vendors. She's paid the $6 million, but they're not going to the vendors. You got to understand what that means. What the hell happened to that money? The police chief get overtime. He's not getting overtime. Cops are getting triple their salary in overtime. And the board's approving these checks. So what? None of this makes any sense. This is
a big driver of the
really
deficit in the general fund. This over $6 million in held checks, I want to caution, does not account for additional monies potentially owed by the village to vendors for which checks have not even been printed. These categories, which we are looking into, include, for example, invoices that have been received by village departments, but for one reason or another may not have been entered into the accounting system, which is called My Viewpoint. These invoices could have been entered into the accounting system, but not been approved by department heads or by the village administrator. And this could also include invoices that have not been approved by payment for the Board of Trustees. You're aware that from time to time, the warrant lists are presented. The trustees say, pay this, not pay that. Well, those checks that are on the warrant list roll over from time to time. And it probably makes sense just to explain really briefly. There is not a centralized repository for vendors to put their checks in electronically, or their invoices, I should say, so that it's automatically in the system. It has to be either hand delivered or sent via email. It goes to the appropriate department head. Then it's up to that department head to approve and enter those invoices into the MyPoint system. And it depends upon the dollar amount of the invoice, who has final approval. for those invoices to make it onto the warrant list, but that's the way the process works now. It will not surprise you that one of the recommendations that we will have when we finish our work is that the village invest in an automated system so that nothing falls between the cracks. The vendor will be able to see real time, where is my invoice moving through the system, and you'll know where it sits, either with the department head or otherwise.
By the way, if you've ever tuned in to one of the city council meetings, the one thing that seems common is that Tiffany is constantly berating the trustees for not approving invoices. So let's say that you've done tree trimming, by the way, that's a big one in Dolton, and you are owed $20,000. Okay. You put on the agenda what they call a warrant list, which typically is just a list of all the people that want to be paid. And the trustees are going like, well, wait a minute. We never approved this contract in the first place. We don't know anything about any tree trimming. And all of a sudden, you want us to give these vendors this money. Tiffany has been lambasting them for not paying these vendors what they're owed. They did the work, even though it was not approved. They did the work. Why aren't you paying these people? But keep in mind, the trustees aren't paying it out because they know deep down there are fiscal problems. They know that there's no money. So they're saying, no, we're not going to give away these checks. So Tiffany is lambasting them, whatever, criticizing them. But then when they do approve, she never sends the checks to the vendors anyway.
She's passing the buck on to them. She knows there's no money. She knows there's no money. So, she's spending. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a movie.
Oh, by the way, this has got to become a movie at some point.
100%.
Made for TV movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And she won't get any funds for it because I think Illinois doesn't allow convicted criminals to profit.
Where'd all that money go? To $6 million? This absolutely makes no sense.
All right, we'll turn now to discuss the cash status of the village. So the village has 22 different bank accounts. A majority of those bank accounts are designated for the special revenue funds or bond escrow funds. So the money in those bank accounts is restricted and shouldn't be used for day-to-day operations. I'll also note that these 22 accounts don't include the pension assets. The pension assets are held in separate trust accounts. Most of the village's expenditures each month are paid from one main operating bank account. As of June 30th, 2024, that bank account had a balance of $715,000. As of April 30th, 2021, that account had a balance of almost $1.5 million. So a decrease of over $750,000.
By the way, I really hate the way that she presents this. I mean, I would rather her tell them how much money they have now how much money they had, then tell people what's happened to it. It has a lot more dramatic effect than the way she's presenting it. But let's just take a look at this. At 1.5 million at one point, it has 780,000 now. She's drained that bank account by about $700,000. Gone. It's gone.
That's insane.
In addition to...
Yeah, go ahead.
That's insane.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. But take a look at this one.
The main operating account, historically, the village has held its excess cash in an account known as Illinois funds. Illinois funds are interest-bearing accounts that are managed by the Illinois Treasurer's Office that allow municipalities to earn interest on their excess cash balance. The balance in the Illinois funds account as of June 30th was only $3,900. As of April 30th, 2021, that balance was over $2 million. So the balance of excess cash has dropped by over $2 million.
Yo, she raided their account.
By the way, notice how the dramatic effect was so totally destroyed there by mentioning the $3,900 at the front. If she had told him we had $2 million, now we only have $4,000, that would have been a lot bigger impact. But the public sounds like they kind of caught it anyway. You had $2 million in this bank balance, and now it's $4,000. which it looks, I mean, that's the kind of the bank accounts that some kid going to college would have. You know what I mean? And by the way, she rated this one because this is a set aside money that was earning interest. I think that she felt that she could raid this one the longest without people finding out about it, because it's going to be monitored less, right? Because this is just set aside money. Nobody's going to touch that. You know, this is just excess revenue that you have. You put it in this account. So this bank balance, this bank account here doesn't get a lot of action. So she thought that she could take more from here and not anybody notice. Go ahead.
They're not taking it. They're not paying anyone out of that account. So she thought Dave.
You'll have to speak up, guy. I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, I said that they're not paying any bank account, so they think there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she didn't think that anybody would have the power to get in and look at this number. But again, Lori Lightfoot got lucky because there was a private company that did. And there's the one that reported this. Now, keep in mind, it could be, I could be wrong there. It may be that the bank went ahead and just told Lori what the numbers were, although strictly speaking, I don't think the bank can, because Lori's not on the account and she has no state authority. But who knows?
They went from $2 million to $3,000 in the bank. She raided their account. And she didn't pay any of the bills, so they still owe that money. The money's gone. Lacey's getting overtime, and they're $2 million in the hole from this account alone. How is she not in jail? Where is the FBI? Like, how is this not all illegal? Like, why did Lightfoot need to do this? This is insane. This is utterly insane. I like Lori Lightfoot. I gotta say, if this is crazy.
Okay, so I guess you guys kind of get the big picture there. There's a little bit more, but I don't want to play it. But yeah, essentially, the town is bankrupt. It came in with a net positive, let's say holdings, and she's drained all of it. She's drained all that she can get her hands on. Now, keep in mind, there's also lawsuits. Go ahead.
No, like Nate said, someone's involved. The FBI, someone. That's so crazy with that. It's.
Yeah, I don't. It's amazing to me. I mean, just the sheer nerve to pull that off. Let's see here. Let's take a look at some of these comments here. Yeah, okay. The what is it? Sextile?
He meant to say sex tape.
What's that?
He meant to say sex tape. It was a typo.
Oh, okay. Not going there. Show the credit card purchase. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's right. I didn't catch that. That's coming up next. So let's go ahead and watch that. Here we go.
I'm at a unrestricted cash balances of the village each month. Within these summaries, the balance reflected already accounts for those held checks that Mayor Lightfoot was just discussing, checks that have been issued but haven't cleared because they haven't been sent yet to vendors. What you can see on the chart is that the unrestricted cash balance of the general fund has dropped from almost $5 million.
Yes. John asked, am I really surprised? Yes, I am shocked. I'm not surprised. I am shocked. None of the bills are being paid. All this overtime is being paid. All this cash is missing. What happened to the money? Yes, I thought it was bad. This is not bad. This is outrageous. This is somebody going to jail for a long time. This is decades in jail. This is just outright theft of people's money. Yes, I am shocked. I thought it was bad. I didn't think this is worse than I thought it could ever honestly be.
As of April of 2022, And it is now accounting for all of the checks that have yet to be sent, is now in a deficit position of over $5.5 million as of May of 2024.
They're in a deficit of $5 million. That's true.
We thought it was important to give you a little bit of insight into credit card use by village employees.
She's getting her money.
We do not have complete information yet. It is our hope that we will get further cooperation and be able to have a complete picture of credit cards, but we wanted to share with you what we do know so far. We are aware that over this time period, from 2021 to the present, the village used 6 different credit cards at various points, from January 2021 through May of this year. 4 American Express cards that appear to have been used by various folks within the police department. The statements for these accounts were addressed to Ernest Mobley, Robert Collins, and Lewis Lacey.
Mayor,
Corruption in the police department, it looks like.
It was former Deputy Chief Mobley is present with us, and an amazing officer, so I'm certain there was no misuse or misconduct on that behalf. So I want to make sure I state that, because he has been an exemplary officer.
Yeah, all we know is what we've seen in the paper so far. We have not interviewed any of these folks to get a better understanding of the specifics around credit card use.
Like, he got a card too.
We have some knowledge of that, but we'll share that as part of the final report. There's 1 American Express card for which statements are addressed to Keith Freeman, the village administrator, and there was a 1 Fifth Third card which statements are addressed to the village. We've been told that that card is no longer in use. We understand from the records we've received from the Kasperick company and interviews that we've conducted that receipts for credit card purchases are rarely provided.
When I worked for a city, if I didn't have a receipt for my purchase, I didn't get reimbursed. I mean, it was just that simple. These guys are not even getting receipts as a general practice. That's crazy.
Further, we understand that the credit card balance, because it comes due, of course, every month, we all know that, is paid as a matter of course. And it was reflected in the accounting records as miscellaneous police department expenditures. We're looking into what is the reason and rationale for that. But what this means is that these credit card bills that are paid do not appear on warrant lists and are therefore not presented to the board for approval. Again, that will be a recommendation that we make, and the board is obviously aware of this issue, which is in part why they took the action that they took the other day to rein in the credit card spending. We also understand from the Kasperick company that the only time a credit card charge would be reflected on a warrant list is if a receipt is provided, and as I've said, our information is that the receipts are rarely provided. We want to highlight a couple of credit card purchases.
$33,000 from Amazon. What the hell did you get from Amazon? Did you guys see that? $33,000.
You're having the same reaction that we did when we saw this.
What the hell? Yo, put a 1 in the chat if you ever spent $33,000 on Amazon, and there should be no 1
So
in
in
the chat.
particular, we were very concerned to see the top 3 purchases that were highlighted for you that were booked on January 5th of 2023. That's roughly $40,000, a little more than that, in credit card purchases on Amazon in the same day.
Yo, what the hell are you buying from Amazon for 40 grand in a day? I didn't even know you could spend that much on Amazon.
Whatever she wanted, right?
I hope she goes to court. I have to know what she bought for 40 grand in a day on Amazon. That's
I know.
I mean, it would be interesting to see what she actually purchased. Now,
a double
Lori
wide
can't
trailer.
find out.
What are you buying on Amazon?
Well, keep in mind, the FBI will go to Amazon and say, show us what she bought, and Amazon will show them. Amazon probably might put up a little bit of a fight over that, but ultimately they will. And so we'll find out at some point what she was buying with those purchases. But yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, if somebody told me you need to squander about $9 million from a city government, I don't even know how I would do it. It's like Brewster's Millions, right? Like, I don't know what I would buy.
Hey, if you gave me $40,000, say spend it in one day on Amazon, I don't think I could. I don't know what the hell you're going to get.
Yeah. And I tried to figure out what she could have bought by looking at the pricing, but I didn't come up with anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yo, Beetlejuice is getting a redemption. Put a one in the chat for Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is knocking us out the park. She's coming with the receipts. You got to give Beetlejuice some love. Even though I'm not a fan of the Beetlejuice, but she's killing it right now. She's dropping the receipts. Let's give it. This is her redemption arc. Beetlejuice, you did good. You're doing good.
And our understanding is that the village does not have an Amazon account. These are somebody using one of the credit cards and charging these amounts using your tax dollars.
Oh my God. Did you guys hear that? So the village doesn't have an Amazon account. Somebody's logging onto their own Amazon account, charging the village's card $40,000 in a day. And that's theft. That's all that is. This is theft.
Yeah, she wouldn't have wanted you to use an Amazon account because then the village would know what she's buying. So she uses the credit card. Just a few questions here. Why is Lori Lightfoot involved? The trustees hired her independently as a private investigator to go in. Why her? Well, she's a famous name. She's a former prosecutor. Let's see here. What else did we have?
Hell, I feel bad going $10 over budget when it comes to Amazon.
Oh, yeah. It takes a certain personality, and I'm exactly in the opposite. If I'm going out for dinner on the city's deal, I'm a little squeamish about making it real exorbitant.
Yeah.
She is just the opposite. Let's see here. Snowball effect with investigating other cities and townships. Yeah, maybe it does. I mean, I certainly think that a lot of other mayors are like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't get too carried away here. Or perhaps they're like, man, what I'm doing is nothing in comparison to what she's doing, so I'm good.
Well, she probably made it to where she's the one that gets the receipts for the credit card anyway, because if anyone else seen it, they would know, look at the crap she's buying. It's crazy.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, you're right. I totally agree with that. I brought some friends. Absolutely. Bring in as many as you can. Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay. Turquoise waving. Let's see here. Yeah, unhinged spending. This is a person who's got a real screw loose. Yeah, I mean, it's almost kleptomania.
This is straight up theft. Wow. Unbelievable.
We suspect we're going to see, as you can see, expenditures at Target, Walgreens, Best Buy.
Remember, this is
a number of
taxpayer
charges
money
that raise questions in our mind. Are these legitimate purchases using the credit cards?
No. Of course they're not legitimate purchases. Come on.
Oh, let's go back. Notice she has a couple of Walgreens for $505.95. Question, what do you think that is?
I can't even think of what you could spend $500 in Walgreens in.
Well, think about $500 plus $595. What do you think it is? Does anybody out there know what that is likely to be?
I'm drawing a blank here.
Gift cards.
Oh.
$500 is the maximum. The $595 is the surcharge.
I didn't even think about it.
Okay,
Wow.
So here's the deal. She's buying gift cards and probably giving them to vendors in exchange for for them kickbacks, probably. This not only would involve kickbacks, this is also money laundering. So the federal crimes are just mounting up. But that's it.
And it's almost a Ponzi scheme. She's taking money to pay for gift cards to pay other people that she's not paying for other stuff. It's just wild. I don't know. This whole thing's insane.
Right, because she has to give the money to them somehow, but she can't write a check, right? So buying a gift card and then giving them the gift card is the best way to hide the actual transfer. But that is exactly what money laundering is.
Yeah, but it's still putting the city more in debt, $500 at a time and $34,000 at a time. It's wild.
Yeah, keep in mind, as Lori Lightfoot said, this is only a small part of the credit card purchases. That's all she's been able to analyze so far.
Yeah, this will only get worse.
Let's say, oh, it's going to get a lot worse.
Johnny,
but keep in mind, though,
what does
this
the other
is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What does the other top? I can't read. I know Amazon's number one. Are then highlighted ones all
Target.
Amazon?
Okay, there's Amazon. There's Target, Walgreens, Wayfair, which is a kind of a furniture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's mainly furniture and stuff like that. I bought some stuff through there. Prices aren't too bad.
Walgreens. I think it's called gritty.com.
I thought that says Gifty, but I can't read it very
Gifty.com,
well.
okay.
That's probably gift cards.
Yeah, it could be that, or maybe it's a registry or something, but I don't know anything about. Does anybody out there know anything about Gifty.com? And the rest are from Best Buy. And 400, 800, even dollars. 400, 800. What kind of product do you buy at Best Buy that comes out to an even $400? Those are probably gift cards. So I have a feeling she's using these gift cards to pay off these vendors. Or something. Or whatever the money she's using it for.
Taking it for herself.
It could be, yeah. I mean, if she wants to go out and buy things with the city's money, buying gift cards with the credit card is the one way to do it, and at least keep people from seeing it real easily.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Are for the bingo prizes. I'm sure she will say, yeah, okay.
Well, I just looked up Giftly. Gift cards.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, boy. Yep. That's money laundering. I can almost guarantee it. Okay. Now that I showed you the credit cards, I'm going to go ahead and move on. I got a little bit of a diversion because I got a lot of people in here now. It's a little quiz. Okay. This has nothing to do with Tiffany, but it's going to take about 5 minutes. I'll just play it here. Okay. Hang on. This is from one of my videos. I spent a lot of time on it and nobody watched it. So I'm going to make you watch it now. Here we go. So we begin. It is. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to read a famous, this is actually not famous at all. Almost nobody knows about this, but I'm going to read statements from a famous person, and you are to guess, and it's a socialist, and you are to guess who that person is. Here we go. Rotten and dismal that a world of so many 100 million people should be ruled by a single caste that has the power to lead millions to life or to death, indeed on a whim. For example, imperialism in France, capitalism in England and North America, etc. This caste has spun its web over the entire earth. Capitalism recognizes no national boundaries. Capitalism has learned nothing from recent events and wants to learn nothing because it places its own interests ahead of those of the other millions. Can you blame those millions for standing up for their own interests and only for those interests? Can one blame them for striving to forge an international community whose purpose is to struggle against corrupt capitalism? Can one condemn a large segment of the educated, angry youth for protesting against education being made a commodity inaccessible to those with the greatest ability? Is it not an abomination that people with the most brilliant intellectual gifts should sink into poverty and disintegrate while others dissipate, squander, and waste the money that could help them? You say, the old property class also worked hard for what it has granted. That may be true in many cases, but do you also know about the conditions under which workers were living during the period when capitalism earned its fortune? Well, any ideas on who wrote that? We have some interesting here. We have Gandhi, and that's actually a pretty good guess, but no, it wasn't Gandhi.
That almost
Karl
sounds
Marx.
like something a college student would.
Well, actually, it's definitely not a college student. I will give a hint. He has a PhD. It's not Karl Marx.
Okay, I'm
Nobody. Drawing a blank, huh? Should I tell you?
Absolutely.
It's not Rashad, is it?
That's not Rashad Ritchie. You'd probably go along with this. No, that's Joseph Goebbels.
I'm not familiar.
Let that soak in. That's Joseph Goebbels. He has a PhD, and he wrote that to his girlfriend that had broken up with him because of his radical socialist beliefs. She was from the upper class, and he was always railing against the bourgeoisie. And so he wrote that to her to try to get her to understand his socialism. And I'd see if I have the book here. Yeah. This book here, Goebbels. I should read it, because when you read it, you realize, wow, the National Socialists were really socialist. In this book, he talks about the time he came home all excited because he had finally convinced Hitler about his socialist leanings, because Hitler was resistant. And finally, Hitler said, oh, I get it now. The Nazis were socialists. Yeah. So at any rate, that's from one of my videos there, but I got like 30 views. All right, let's moving on to another ones. Is that surprising to you guys?
It's
a little bit.
I mean, it's called the National Socialists, right? That's what their name is. Okay, here we go.
This entire thing has me shocked. I don't even know what to say about a lot of it.
Okay. Okay, so what's happened to this? Remember, Lacey, the police chief, he was a deputy police chief, by the way. They didn't have a police chief. And he's been collecting overtime, and he gets put on administrative leave. All right? Well, the Board of Trustees fired him, finally. But that was not the end of it. Listen.
We'd like to talk to you about whether you're still running things here in Dolton.
Lacey arrived for the hastily called meeting, but sat in his souped-up Dodge Durango.
I think we're in a standoff.
Freeman do not work here, he's fired. So stop playing these silly games, Board of Trustees, and putting people's lives in jail.
Then today,
I don't know why it's flashing like that. But at any rate, they put him on administrative leave, but he showed up anyway. So they fired him because that's insubordination. We told you to stay away. You showed up in your police uniform and pistol and everything. So they fired him. So what did Tiffany do? She hires him as a police chief.
Shut up. Holy shit.
He's been promoted. He was deputy police chief. However, there's a problem. The Board of Trustees hasn't approved his hiring, and he's never been sworn in. But he shows up as police chief anyway, and he calls a meeting to tell the police officers that he's now the new police chief and they had better toe the line. Listen up. And I don't know why it's flashing.
Today, trustees say they got word that Mayor Tiffany Henyard has now appointed Lacey as police chief without trustees voting on this appointment.
Drama in Dolton continues in an extremely confusing way. Now you have the mayor, Tiffany Henyard,
with the acting police chief, Lacey, and Keith Freeman, the village administrator. Does anyone know what's going on? Another volatile situation that the residents of Dolton have to deal with.
And I should fill you in on anything. Fill you on something else. The guy in the bottom is the village administrator. He's essentially the city manager. He's a crook. And he's basically taught Tiffany how to do all this stuff. He's a bigger crook than she is, I think, ultimately. He's more sophisticated. All right? Well, the FBI indicted his butt because he has committed bankruptcy fraud. So guess what he's doing? He's talking to the board of trustees and the FBI now. So she tried to fire him because he's telling on her. But he's also now a whistleblower. So you can't fire him. And the board of trustees refuses to fire him. They wanted him fired for the longest time, and she clung on to him. But now that he is turned on her, she's trying to get rid of him. And the board of trustees are now saying, no. Because if they do fire him, he's going to file a lawsuit. Okay.
And he might stop talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is basically, whether he is still the village administrator is not known because she fired him, but they never approved it.
And they hired the police chief without approving it. Is he impersonating a police officer right now? It's crazy.
They don't know who is the police chief, and they don't know who is the village administrator.
They don't know.
All we know is who's the village idiot.
That we do have that one nailed down, and that has been board trustee approved. Let's read a few things here. I have a feeling Ask's going to be given consideration for she mentally unhinged behavior. It's impulsive, compulsive, and neurotic. Well, that'll be the lawyer's take on it, right? Her lawyer will try to make that claim. Yeah, good luck with that one. That won't fly very far. Hit that like button. Yeah, hit the like button for me. By the way, it's JOHNNIE, like the Scotch. Even though it's not my real name. Boost the algorithm and gets his videos. Yeah, come on, guys. Hit that like button. Do me something there for me. And subscribe to my channel. And let's see what else we got here. Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm going to have a little something to say about what you're saying here, about the people being aware of it and being okay with it to a certain extent. Okay,
let's just get into it.
The acting police chief for the village of Dolton pleaded not guilty today on federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Lacey is accused of hiding assets and income to avoid paying creditors and settling a lawsuit.
So the police chief has been indicted by the FBI.
Okay.
So, yeah. Can you imagine working for a police chief who is under investigation by the FBI? He's pleaded not guilty to it.
In court today, the judge ordered Lacey to give up his Dolton Police Department issued firearm and 2 other guns he has in his house.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. The finance director needs to answer some questions. You're absolutely right. And that's why Tiffany Henyard fired the finance administrator right after she got elected and then put one of her cronies in as a finance director who is not qualified for the job and who has basically refused to say much of anything to anybody. So nice try. But Tiffany was already prepared for that one.
So first, before we even get into the situation involving Lacey and why Tiffany Henyard is trying so hard to keep Lacey around and getting paid, before I want to talk about that, let's talk about the latest L that the Henyard administration took.
Illinois State Controller Susana Mendoza is suspending some state payments to Dolton. The office says in Dolton's case, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has refused to share required annual reports, including a financial report and a financial audit for the past 2 years.
So this administration is an absolute embarrassment. Offset funds are a type of a financial mechanism used by the state to collect money owed by individuals or businesses to local governments. like a city or municipality, like she likes to call it. Here is how it works in simple terms. Someone owes money to the city, such as an unpaid tax, fine, or fees. Instead of the city chasing that person down for the money, the state can step in and collect it on the city's behalf. The state does this by withholding some of the money it would normally pay to that person, like a tax refund, and instead gives it directly to the city to cover the debt. This process is known as off.
Did you know that you could be generating 10 grand a month or more by simply teaching other people what you already know, extract that into an online course?
Setting the funds. In this case of Dolton, Illinois, the state comptroller Susana Mendoza has suspended these offset funds due to the failures by the current administration led by Mayor Tiffany Henyard to provide the necessary financial reports and audits for the last 2 years. These reports are extremely important because they show the city's financial health and ensures that word that she does not like, transparent.
Gee, I wonder why she didn't want to share those with the state.
Without them, the state can't accurately manage the offset funds, which led to this suspension. This suspension means Dolton may not receive some of the money it's owed, potentially causing even more financial strain on the village. But what else is new? It's just more and more nonsense. Now let's get into this power struggle. So we already know Dolton's acting police chief is facing a serious legal battle after being indicted on charges of bankruptcy, fraud, and perjury. Federal prosecutors allege that Lacey engaged in a scheme to hide assets and income to avoid paying a lawsuit. I've said this many times already. The problem is, how is he still working?
Are you in charge? Who's in charge?
The issue is between the mayor, the village administrator, obviously the trustees, and Louis Lacey. So Keith Freeman, been continuing to be the village administrator, is making Henyard really upset. Probably for reasons that a lot of us can just guess. Keith Freeman is probably in contact with the federal government. He's probably snitching. I have no idea myself, but that's what looks like is happening, and Henyard really wants him out of her hair. So that's what.
And by the way, you may be wondering, can Tiffany just simply not pay Keith Freeman? Right? He's been fired because she wants him out of there because he's a turncoat as far as she's concerned. The board of trustees says, no, he's still on. So he's, I guess, is still the city administrator. I don't know if he's showing up for work, but he has to be paid for his compensation. Do you think Tiffany can stop that? I don't think so. I don't think that Tiffany can actually prevent an employee from receiving their paycheck. Even though that comes out of the general fund.
Is anyone actually getting paid? I mean, they're in the red so far. I don't know if anyone's getting paid.
Well, employees are getting paid, but they just laid off 6 people because they are in deep financial distress. So, and Tiffany made a big deal out of that. Said, "Oh, you're going to lay off these 6 people, but not Keith Freeman?" And they're like, "Well, no, we can't. He's an informant." It's like, we don't want to get sued. So she made a big deal out of that at the township meeting, basically cajoling the trustees to fire him because you're firing his other people, right? Oh, this is just the way things are going. At one time, she threatened to withhold the paychecks from the trustees if they didn't vote for her thing that she wanted, which is blatantly illegal. However, Belcher, one of the trustees, said, "You can't do that because we don't get paid out of any funds that you can have your hands on." And therefore, I think that Tiffany probably can't prevent Keith Freeman from getting a paycheck.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And Keith Freeman is cooperating with the FBI. He is. There's no doubt about that.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. Well, he at this point, he has no choice if he wants to stay out of prison. Of course, he's probably going to go to prison anyway, but the leverage that he has requires that he basically spill his guts to the FBI. Or just go up the river with her.
You want to go up the river for her, of all people? Come on.
Yeah.
But she's the mayor of the people.
Right. I have something to say about the people here in a little bit.
Well, the people that she wants to give money
Freeman
to.
said it publicly.
I'm sorry?
The people that she wants to give money to. That's the people that she's representing.
The problem is that the trustees did not vote to let the village administrator go, as you can see right here.
Keith Freeman is fired from the village of Dolton. He no longer will work here in the village of Dolton. So I'm letting y'all know that. So when tomorrow comes, no one can be like, he's still working. No, he does not. So I'm just making it crystal clear for what it is that is about to happen. Board of Trustees, is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman? Dun, dun, dun. There y'all go. What we doing? Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman? What we doing? Y'all got.
See how she's basically ridiculing them because they're not willing to go along with her decision to fire the village administrator.
Hold up. Y'all got to huddle up real quick. We're going to take a 3 seconds. Okay. What we doing?
You want to discuss?
What y'all want to do? Y'all had to talk about it and get it together yet? Y'all doing signals across the room. What we doing? Y'all motioning here. What we doing? Y'all quiet. Y'all quiet as a church mouse, as I say. What's going on right now? This the person y'all can't stand. Y'all don't like. This what y'all say. This what y'all.
Yeah. Remember, you don't like Keith Freeman. You can't stand him. And now you're not willing to fire him. Right. Because they actually have a responsibility to look after the best interests of the city rather than their own personal misgivings. And she does not understand that. This is what you would call, never mind. I missed it. But at any rate, that's what she's doing here.
What y'all say about the person? Y'all say he's never at work. He'll do his job. Is this what y'all say? So what we doing, guys? The motion is on the floor. What y'all gonna do? The motion is seconded. What we doing? What we doing, guys?
She so desperately wants the board of trustees to be the ones that fire him so that she can claim, well, it wasn't my decision. The board of trustees did it because of that whole informant thing. But they're not going along with it.
No, nothing. Crickets. Nobody wants the motion. And
Henyard has accused the trustees of playing city games and undermining her administration by keeping Freeman in his position.
By the way, the word I was trying to reach was projection. This is what projection is. It's the inability to understand somebody else's viewpoint because you can't understand anybody not being like you. So because she can be bought, she has no way of fathoming that somebody might be resistant to being bought. So that's why. Go ahead.
No, so I have a question. Why didn't they speak up? Because she kind of had him with the fact that they didn't like him before.
I think it's because that discussion is supposed to be in a closed session. They're not supposed to discuss this to the public.
Oh, okay.
And I think that the board of trustees are probably thinking like, well, she sort of opened the door for a response. So I think that we could comment on this and be covered. But I have a feeling they're probably like, well, we just better not. But yeah, she's actually probably breaking the law by even bringing that up.
Okay.
But breaking the law is not her concern. The CPA should be investigated because they have a legal, ethical, and professional responsibilities. Okay, and I actually brought that up in one of my videos. And I don't know if you mean by CPA. I think you mean probably the financial director, who's supposed to be a licensed CPA. The person they brought in is a flunky, and she, I don't think, realizes how much trouble she's getting into by basically playing interference for Tiffany. However, she's also the person that the FBI is going to give a very sweetheart deal to because she's a minor character. They'll just not press charges against her at all in exchange for her testimony because you know that Tiffany has told her many times, don't be talking to people, don't tell them about this. And that will basically help bury Tiffany in court. So I don't think that the CPA, the finance director, is going to be in any serious trouble in the end. She's just not a big enough fish. I mean,
I almost bet that, you know how businesses have motivational posters She probably has
Yeah.
motivational posters like "Snitches get stitches."
Well, I wouldn't doubt it if she actually started posting stuff like that around. Keeping in mind, and I think this is going to come up later, she's actually changed the locks on the personnel in the city hall when she gets mad at them. So she's done it 3 times.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's her little way she has her tantrum. Let's see here. Super Stupid has been working with the feds. They are trying to nail others bigger, never know. Yeah, it could be, and I think that this is highly unlikely. But if the police chief may be showing up to work on account of the feds want him to, but I would not think that would be very likely. But Keith Freeman is definitely going to be singing, and pretty much everybody else will be. It looks like Lacey's the only holdout, and if he is a holdout, he's a moron, but he doesn't come across as particularly bright. And by the way, the city has been sued for $33 million and lost. So that's on top of all the other expenses. And the reason why they got sued was because Lacey and this other police officer engaged in a chase that killed some dude and critically wounded another one.
Wow.
This one, he was not the police chief. So they get sued. They lose $30-something million, and then he becomes the police chief. Yeah. So bad decision making all around. So that, and remember, they're in huge debt, but Lightfoot didn't talk about the judgments against the city. There's one for $33 million, and there's a bunch of others. So yeah. By the way,
that's not getting paid.
Well, Tiffany has refused to pay out. So the judgment has been against the city, but Tiffany refuses to sign the checks. Defying a court order.
They don't have $33 million. Where the hell are they going to
Yeah,
pay it out?
they don't have $33 million, but the others are not nearly as big, but she's not paying out any of them.
That's crazy.
Even though the court has ordered her to do so. But again, she doesn't really have the money. You're right.
Freeman is still the village administrator. The trustees have not voted to fire him. This situation seen by Henyard as a part of a broader effort to destabilize her leadership and weaken her control over the village. The conflict
population of Dolton is 20,000.
Over Lacey's continued employment highlights how terrible everything is. Lacey is still on the payroll and actively employed.
Lacey is currently on unpaid administrative leave. His attorney maintains that his client is still on the payroll and actively employed, also suggesting that this indictment is a witch hunt.
Suddenly now that Lightfoot came out with this report, Mr. McGrath is ordering people not to give Mr. Lacey his what is owed to him. It's completely illegal.
In fact, as you see here in this police meeting, before Lacey was arraigned, Henyard and Lacey made it clear that he is still in charge.
Freeman do not work here, he's fired. So stop playing these silly games, Board of Trustees, and putting people's lives in jeopardy. So I'm here to tell everybody from the horse's mouth, which I made this statement at the board meeting. So it's nothing different. So, any questions? Anybody questions?
So you guys know, Keith Freeman did get a letter of termination. Okay? Now, from this point on, do what you want. But anything after this is insubordination. Okay?
Like, I don't even know how to parse that. Do whatever you want, but from this point on, it's insubordination. So I don't get to do whatever I want. The police, they hold this mandatory meeting. They show up and they're told that it's not mandatory. And Tiffany is basically telling the police that he's still the police chief. And he turns around and says this strange insubordination deal. I can't imagine how a police officer sat here and thought, oh yeah, this is normal. Right? They don't know if he's really the police chief. Now keep in mind, let's suppose that you're out on patrol and there is a violent crime. And suppose he tells that police officer to stand down. What do? Because if he tells them to stand down and he's not the police chief and you do, oh my God. So there's all kinds of insurance problems here. If he gives out an order that gets somebody hurt, is the insurance company going to cover? Because it's not clear whether he even has that authority. So the insurance company could come back and say, hey, we're not paying out. That order was given by somebody who was not even on your rolls. This is crazy.
If this was a TV show, I would say it's not real. This is unrealistic. It's nuts.
Just keep in mind, his police chiefness has not been board approved, and he has not been sworn in as police chief, and yet he's showing up here with his uniform and his gun. Actually, he doesn't have his gun. They took that away from him. And but he's showing up as the police chief. I mean, to me, this is almost a crime.
I think Gotham City might be a little less corrupt than this.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of problems here. They might get a call from their insurance company the next day saying, hey guys, we heard about what transpired, but if you go to your insurance policy and they can detail it out, we're not going to pay up if he ends up killing somebody.
Yeah, and a police chief who's not allowed to carry a gun. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, and what's going to happen next is that the lawyer is going to go to the courts and say, well, he has to have his gun because he's the acting police chief. And they're going to say, well, has he been sworn in? No. That's going to be interesting. I don't know if the court's going to give him his gun back. But yeah, you have a police chief who's not allowed to have a gun. Now, I should be careful. He's not allowed to have an official sidearm. He can have his own guns.
Yeah.
Right? He's not convicted of a felony or anything like that. But he's not going to be able to carry his own guns in as a sidearm because that's not allowed. So while he's on duty, he's going to have to be unarmed. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it looks to me, or at least it appears to this person, I think I agree, that this corruption goes way up. It's beyond Tiffany. There's a lot of stuff going on here. This is Chicago area. Okay, let's go ahead and...
Okay. Can I have any questions? Concerns? And then always keep y'all mental in check because you know there's a lot going on. And I hate that y'all going through this stuff. Just for real. On some real stuff. Go see HR. Don't let nobody like mess with your peace. Keep your peace. Whatever y'all can do. Keep that. See what's going. But that's it. As long as I can. Cover nothing else. They put on a show called...
In the hours leading up to Lacey's arraignment, Mayor Henyard and Lacey is really adopting a tone of intimidation. Henyard dismisses the actions of the Board of Trustees as trivial, framing them as attempts to undermine her administration. Lacey, for his part, aligns himself with Henyard, obviously, signaling his intent to stay in power despite the legal challenges.
He's an idiot because, okay, and I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but you already have Keith Freeman willing to talk. You have no choice at that time but to join on because you don't want to be caught as that one person who refuses to join the rest when it comes to snitching, right? I mean, even on the small scale, once one person snitches, the others had better start because they're just going to get in trouble. Keep in mind, he not only has dirt on Tiffany, he has dirt on the lead Chief Lacey as well. I'm talking about Freeman. So the FBI is not going to be in any mood to cut you any deals because Keith Freeman can already nail you. So once Keith Freeman joins in, this guy, whoever joins first, is usually going to get the best deal. What I'm saying. And Lacey right now has decided to drag his feet on this. And if he doesn't toe the line here, the FBI at some point is going to say, we don't need you now. Because not only has Keith Freeman snitched out on Tiffany, he's also snitched out on you.
Johnny, I have a prediction. This story is going to get crazier. Freeman is going to end up dead. Wait and see. I guarantee it.
Possibly.
It kind of depends on whether. Okay, and this is kind of. I was going to talk about this as well. My opinion is Tiffany is a dangerous person.
Yeah.
She could easily order a hit. A lot of people, they think, well, no, she's not that bad. No, she is quite capable of doing that kind of thing.
That's why I said that she seems like the person that would do that.
Now, the only thing about it is, at this juncture, I don't know how she gets away with it. She's so dumb and bumbling. I don't know how she would arrange it now. She's not going to do it herself. I mean, she doesn't have that kind of nerve. But could she order a hit on somebody? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She'll pay for it with a gift card.
Do you want Walmart? Do you want gift? Tell me what you want.
Yep.
Let's see here. I don't know what that's about. But at any rate, remember, she is... okay, if she had come to power in some third world country, there would have been bodies floating down the river.
No, for sure.
Let's see here. The man is an idiot. Yeah, I would be getting the hell out of there, but okay. Okay, so let's see here. I'm tired of that part. Let's okay, so this is an interesting hang on. So, after the Lori Lightfoot dealio, you would think that Tiffany Henyard would never show up again. Well, if you thought that, you don't know Tiffany. So this was yesterday. This is a this is a Thornton Township. Remember, she's the mayor of Dolton, but she's also the supervisor of Thornton Township. She has two deals. So she is running a Thornton Township festival. She probably created this. She's paying for this out of the Thornton Township monies because Dolton doesn't have any more money. However, it's being held in Dolton. So this is really for the Dolton community being paid by the county, essentially.
Wow.
Here we go.
Yeah, everything free. Whatever you want to get on, y'all can get on. You welcome. All right, y'all. But see, this all for the babies. This is what they don't show you. They don't show you this side of Tiffany Henyard. The productivity, the kids, the ones loving on me. Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Get it, sexy.
You want to get it? Hey.
Hey. She the best, you know it.
Yep, thank you. Oh yeah, favorite drone pilot. Yeah. He outside in the rain, got that good footage.
Anytime she call me, I'm pulling up.
That part. Wait till y'all see his video he gonna make for y'all. Y'all know I gotta make a video. You know that's what we do. We gotta show y'all what the news won't show y'all, which is this unity and the love for your Supermayor. Yep. Got it.
Yeah, we have to show you the video of the people showing their love for the Supermayor. It's all about her.
Is she Yellow Pants' sister?
you notice the only people showing her love are the people on the payroll.
Yeah, exactly. Those fingernails. Is that a new thing where they sharpen them? Like talons?
My sister-in-law had them for a while. They're called a French cut or something like that. I don't know. I don't understand this stuff. I'm a guy, and
and the raw nerve is just incredible. But let's listen to her a little bit more.
Who got the camera? I'm gonna what you say? I'm gonna come out on top. That's right. That part. It's from the resident's mouth. You heard it. They know what it is. Remember, y'all new to this. I'm true to this. You know?
He looked like he was just a little bit uncomfortable with the whole thing, right? Like she went up to him. He's on camera and is like, yeah, okay.
Well, y'all gotta pay attention to what really goes on in the community. Not that clickbait. Not the stuff that ain't true. This is the love right here. I'm going up and down just to show y'all what it is.
Okay, so you see the real problem here. Well, it's not the real problem. The real problem is that she's corrupt, greedy, and just an overall evil person. But you see here that she equates leadership with getting people to love you. Mm-hmm. So by giving all away these free things, and she said at the start, it's free, 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 everything's free, right? She thinks that the mark of a good leader is someone that people feel ingratiated to.
Yes, but I don't think they like her. There's about 7 people there.
Yeah.
You know?
The other thing is there's almost nobody here.
Yeah.
Right? Now,
and it's free.
Think about
people like free.
Yeah. Think about the money that went into this. I mean, she had go-kart races, little go-karts that the kids ride around in. They're not particularly dangerous, but that's still a liability. And the amount of money that you have to pay a vendor to host this is in the tens of thousands of dollars. She wants it for the village of Dolton, but the village of Dolton doesn't have any money. So she makes it a Thornton Township thing so that the Thornton Township will pay for it, but she hosts it in Dolton.
Yep. Now Thornton Township's going to get dragged in all this mess too.
Well, they already were, because on her trips, she went for the mayor's conference. She charged all the expenses to the township. Mm. So the township is pretty pissed off about that.
Yeah.
And you know she's probably staying in the expensive hotels.
Yeah, they already found that out. 5-star. Yep.
Yeah, she's not at Motel 6. I guarantee that.
No, it was 5-star. She flew first class and brought her entourage with her.
Probably also all first class.
But you want to know something that gets even worse? They even had a conference in Las Vegas, okay? And one of the trustees, her biggest ally, raped some girl, one of the other employees in a hotel room. And Tiffany covered it up. So that's a criminal procedure that Nevada is engaging in. I don't know anything about how far they've gone along with it, but she's caught on on recording saying, this is going to take me out, or something to that effect. So she's trying to cover for this trustee who's a real slimeball. And yeah. Uh-huh. If you wrote a book on this thing, it'd be 500 pages. It's gotten that deep. I think I've seen enough of this. I think I've seen enough of this Tiffany here at work. But also, she said something about leading with love. You don't lead with love. You lead with professionalism. She doesn't get that. Well, I think that she might. She knows that love is what's going to bring some of the people around her, because some people will buy into it. And that brings me to my next thing. How long have we been going on?
2:18.
Okay. All right. So I want to read the script that I had written for. It's a fairly short video, but I never got around to actually, hang on. Got to find my cursor. There it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. Because I have to move this over to the other screen. And this is I guess this could be my finale here. But it's about, does the town really deserve this? How did she get elected? Well, one of the reasons why she got elected was James House was running against her. He's the soft-spoken guy that we heard from earlier, and he pulled out of the race. And so that's how she got elected. But all right, so here we go. It begins. I know that both Sean from Actual Justice Warrior and Nate the lawyer have noted strongly that the same people who voted Tiffany Henyard in as mayor are often the same ones that try to recall her. They did try to recall her, and they won, but then a judge overthrew it, said that it was not a legal election. So she won that. And she got, by the way, buried. She got beat really badly in the recall, but the judge threw it out. So what has the town learned? Well, perhaps nothing. There's no doubt that Tiffany Henyard is in serious trouble. Her graft and spending have been exposed on a national scale. Keep in mind, there are people from all over the country that are going to Dolton for the city council meetings. And one of the board of trustees said, this is not normal. We're a small town. We don't need people from Tacoma, Washington and Gainesville, Florida flying in to our city council meetings. That's never good. Her two top henchmen have been indicted by the feds. That's Freeman and the police chief, Lacey. It's bad to have one henchman in the... Okay, I'll skip that because I talked about that already. Now, Tiffany faces a mayoral challenge from Trustee James House. He has put his hat in the ring. He's going to be running for mayor against her in 2025. My gut feeling is the feds will have her locked up before then. Now, keep in mind, she's not going to be indicted anytime soon, but I don't think it's going to be like a year. I have a feeling we're talking like 4 or 5 months. The FBI takes its time, and it's not going to indict her until it has all their ducks in a row. I don't think she has a passport. But I mean, she is a flight risk. All right. I have a video on that as well. So how does someone like Tiffany get elected? And this is the thing I was thinking about, because I have a lot of experience in working with cities, and I've seen this kind of behavior before, although nothing to this level. Okay. Many have pointed out the folly in electing someone based on their identity. People are saying that this is a DEI hire or a DEI election. Keep in mind, everybody that has been, for the last 20 or 30 years, that has been elected mayor has been black. So she doesn't have that, but she's a female. She was the first female. So people are saying, well, they voted for her because she was female, and some did. I'm saying that that's not the issue at all. I don't think Tiffany was elected on account of DEI. As I see it, what allowed to get Tiffany Henyard elected was the propensity of Dolton residents to fall for bluster. And you just heard it, right? Listen to her talking. We need to take back the streets. We need to shine the light on corruption. We need to give the power back to the people. I mean, have you guys heard this stuff before?
Yep.
Okay. How do those people ever work out? They're almost always terrible. And she ran on those platforms. And here, by the way, is I love y'all. I love y'all. I love everybody.
I love the money.
So she likes to push that. The walking bullhorns that chant such drivel are the ones to avoid. He who rails the most against corruption is probably the crookedest of them all. By the way, if you ever disagree with anything I'm saying, pipe up. Those that try to rally support around some abstraction like giving the power back to the people probably don't know the first thing about running a government. And I will stand on that one. In fact, I'm fairly certain that there's an inverse relationship between the number of times that a politician says the people and their ability to govern. To me, it seems that there is a subculture among a city's population, that is swayed by this bellicosity. He or she who yells the loudest must be the one most concerned with the problem, right? In truth, the one who yells the loudest about a problem is probably just loud about everything. These are often the gadflies who show up at city council meetings and rail at the powers that be about their corruption. Real or not, they wear t-shirts with power slogans. You ever seen that? You ever see a bunch of people wearing the same t-shirt and it's always got some slogan on it? Take back the streets. Don't ever be swayed by those people. Okay. And often the ones that won't give up their microphone once their 3 minutes are up. Am I hitting it? So this is where this gets a little controversial. This seems to be a problem, particularly for those cities inhabited by those who consider themselves downtrodden, which makes this an unfortunate residue of self-victimization. The race hustlers like Rashad Ritchie thrive on making people believe that they have been victimized by others. Even worse, they have made them become overly comfortable with their victimhood status. Being a victim is almost cool, right? I mean, back in the day, you didn't want to be a victim, man. That was the suck. But now it's cool to be a victim.
And
it's these popular. Go ahead.
Their own mayor's victimizing them. It's not, it's.
Yeah, but I'm coming to that.
Okay.
It's like the Victim Olympics. Everyone wants to be the biggest victim.
Uh-huh. And it's these populations that are the most susceptible to bluster. Sooner or later, a wannabe politician, usually a self-described community leader, you heard that one before? I'm a community leader, man, stay away from them, will come by and assure the, say, black population that with their election, they'll take their town back from the evil white meanies. The corruption soon follows. The people running for office have been grandstanding for months about how those in power have been taking advantage of the people, and if elected, they will invoke transparency, another buzzword. What they really mean to say is, those in power have been raking it in for too long while not letting me in on the action. When Mayor Smith was in office, he used to ring up huge dinner bills and charge them to the city. Now it's my turn. This is called entitlement, and it's part of the victimization ritual. Once you convince people that they are victims of the system, they naturally begin to think that the system owes them something back for their pain. And so the mayor-elect begins to charge expensive dinners to the system. Who does he or she hire once in charge? People willing to agree that this mayor-elect or whatever is owed these things. And of course, these people also feel that they are victims and begin to engage in the same graft. So, you see what I'm saying? The people who are pounding the most about the need for transparency and how they have been victimized for so long are the ones itching to get in on it themselves because they feel it's owed to them. The man has been putting them down for so long. Now it's my turn. It's called bluster, and it's destroying the culture of many communities. I think that this is ultimately what happened to Dolton. And I go into why she thinks that she wants to be Al Capone and John Gotti. She looks upon John Gotti as her idol. Mr. Dapper Don, they called him. He used to wear nice fancy suits and stuff. And by the way, he was a darling of the left in New York City. They loved him. They got autographs from him. He was an extraordinarily mean, cruel person.
Yeah.
And
the
how
people
anybody
loved
could
him.
idolize him. Oh, they loved him. Yeah. He was a celebrity.
Remember that one clip where they asked that the reporter asked about murders? They go, murders? What murders?
I don't remember that, but
Yeah, it was two guys from the neighborhood. Go, murders? He didn't do no murders.
I mean, this is the guy who ordered this young kid who was probably mentally retarded to be killed because he was staring at through a window at them, and nobody knows why the kid was doing that, but he was mentally challenged, and he iced him. This is a really mean person, but luckily they got him by RICO. So I'm going to end this on a nice note. I think Jason House will make a fine mayor, and I think it will be hard to beat him. You can tell by his demeanor and manner of speaking that he has both feet firmly planted on the ground, and he comes off as the most intelligent of all the trustees. I get that the other trustees are very vocal, and I appreciate the fact that they are opposing Tiffany, but their own sort of over the top demeanor, I don't think they would be good mayors. Like Belcher.
I feel sorry for anybody that takes over after her.
Yeah, and I mentioned this. The town has been crippled by Henyard, and the people see House as the one that has the best finger on the pulse of the problem. I think he knows the problem. But I don't know if there is a solution here. I really don't. I think this town is buried.
Yeah, I mean the way she operates, that town operates. She will probably elect the next person. She'll probably get someone else in. It's so weird.
Well, I mean, if the next person that's opposing James House walks around and says, I love you all. By the way, the James House, that's corruption. I guarantee you, I'm going to shine a light on corruption. We're going to give you the power. Are they going to be swayed by that? Because if they are, James might not get elected. So my warning is to everybody, and obviously I think my viewers are far more sophisticated than the average. But all those others out there that come across this video, be very careful about these people with the megaphones. The ones with the t-shirts and the power slogans that show up, yelling at people, crying about corruption, filing lawsuit after lawsuit, FOIA request after FOIA request. Be very careful of them, because they're typically not good leaders. And especially if they call themselves a community leader, I would definitely avoid that. If you're a community leader, then stay where you are. Continue doing what you're doing. But don't be taking over a city unless you know what you're doing. Look, I mean, it's one thing to become a trustee, okay? Your power is spread out amongst 5 people. So if you're a newbie, you don't know what you're doing, and you got elected because you're just louder than anybody else, that's okay. I mean, you'll learn. But don't become a mayor in a strong mayor form of government like they have in Dolton. Don't get that job if you don't know what you're doing. Tiffany didn't know what she was doing. And by the way, I'll throw you another little shocker. When she got elected, she had a criminal record. She was breaking into cars. Just when you think it can't get any weirder, it does. I think I even have her mugshot here. Hang on.
This is going to make a great documentary one day.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Yep, there she is. That's her mugshot. She was, I believe, convicted for what they call criminal trespass of a vehicle, which is basically breaking into cars to steal the interior contents. She saw something inside and broke into the cars to get them to steal. I don't think she was trying to steal the car. I don't think she has enough brains to pull that off.
Johnny, I am shocked that she has a history of theft. Shocked.
Yeah. Well, what's shocking is that they're surprised that she's stealing. She is basically just a run of the mill street thief.
And a snake oil salesman.
Well, but then you got to go back. How did she get elected? How did she get elected to be on the board of trustees? The mouth. Promise. Not just promises. All politicians make promises. But this promise in the most overconfident ways. And the hollering about corruption and the hollering about graft and all that. But most importantly, that giving the power back to the people. If you elect me, then I'm going to give you the power. The truth is, the people already have the power. They are the ones that do the electing. There's nothing that a board of trustee can do to give the people the power. There's nothing they can do. So that's an empty promise. But people fall for it, and they fell for it from her. Now, how did she become the supervisor for the township? Remember, this is all about the mayor, but she also became supervisor. The mayor pays like $40,000 a year. That's nothing. The supervisor gets like $200,000 plus a year. Well, she was just nominated and approved.
She spent her salary in a day on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay, and let me say one more thing. And I'm actually getting kind of a little bit tired, so you can probably tell. The thing that's the shame of it all is, wait a minute, hold on, is that she has some talents. She has unbridled energy. I don't think I've ever seen anybody with as much energy as she has. She puts these events together. She's always out there, runs around. I mean, she does organize events and she follows through on it. If she had just put that to good use, she could have been a great mayor. But she just couldn't resist the temptation to steal. She makes around $250,000 a year combined. That's not enough. You could have put your kid through college easily with that. You could have bought some nice vehicles, nice house, and you could have put your energies towards being a really good mayor with your energy and your, boisterous thing going. She could have been an effective mayor. She's not very bright, so that would have been a major problem. But then she could have leaned on her trustees to provide the direction, like a mayor should. But she just had to steal. And now it's all going to go away. She's probably facing 40 years because these are some very serious charges. And she's got a lot of them. And now also the state can come in and also arrest her for all kinds of things. So here's a person who could have had it all. If they could have just been satisfied with what they had, but they had to steal. And keep in mind, it's not just the theft. I mean, this is really not so much about greed. It's about power. She wanted to be John Gotti. She wanted to be Idi Amin. She wanted to be these people because she wanted to be feared. It's like, I get it. It's kind of nice to walk around and have people scared of you, I guess. Nobody's ever been scared of me, so I don't know what it was like, but I imagine for a lot of people that must be very stimulating. So she built up everything to where people would whisper, "You don't want to mess with Tiffany. Man, she's tough. She'll get even. You better be nice to Tiffany." She loved that. That's what she was really wanting. And so that's why she did what she did. And I think that the stealing was just a secondary deal. I don't think she was driven by greed. I think she was driven by power. And this is the reason why, if she was ever in charge of anything to where she could have had people killed, she'd have done it, I think. She's a dangerous person. It's just like that one Crystal Kaiser. Are you guys familiar with her, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't. What was the general theme about her? The feelings was, what a sweet girl. She's got the little violin, and she's been taken advantage of. Oh, poor Crystal. And then you find out, no, she's a really violent person. And a lot of people underestimated her. People are underestimating Tiffany Henyard. I think you're right. I think that Keith Freeman probably should be careful, especially that now that Louis Lacey is, I guess, the police chief. Is he the kind that would do something like that? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I am whooped. Any final comments, guys? Oh.
No, but I'm going to follow this very closely, and I think we should do a follow-up in a little while, because something's going to happen very soon.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be following this, too.
Is this shocking or more surprising to you than you thought you were getting into tonight?
It was a lot. Yeah, it was, because I read it like a couple articles, then I just kind of want to learn about it as I go, and it's really interesting. It's like a movie. And just when you think that it's all settled, another couple of days, another big item comes out. It's hard to keep up. I mean, I had a hard time keeping up with it because it takes time to put out a video, and I just wore out. I mean, her craziness. Let's see. Let's go through. Let's what we got here.
I mean, the main thing I knew about her was the issue that she's having with the Parks Department and not getting them funds.
Oh, I forgot all about the Parks Department. That just goes to show you. Well, and again, this is the power thing, right? So let me tell you what everybody happened. She has a bad habit of locking people out of City Hall, changing the locks. And they were supposed to have a village meeting in City Hall, but she locked them out. So they went and asked the Parks Department, can we use your facility? And the Parks Department's like, yeah, sure. I mean, we have a room. So they allowed the trustees and all the people to meet. She got so mad at them that she went around and wrote tickets to the Parks Department for their lane of mulch around the playground. Wow. I mean, this mulch, by the way, is supposed to be there. And it's designed to help keep kids from getting hurt.
And apparently, her actions also might put in jeopardy a new park area that's they've already designed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me just finish this thought off. So they are supposed to change the mulch about every year. They did, and she wrote a $2,000 ticket for it. This is just that pettiness, right? Like, you just put fresh mulch down because it's good for the kids, but she's trying to be petty. So at any rate, there was also another deal with a grant because the Parks Department got a grant, but they needed her approval. But she's mad at them because they let these trustees use the park's facility for a meeting. So she sits on the money. She doesn't approve the grant. I don't know if the Parks Department lost their grant or not. I'd be interested to find out. But at any rate, they were in danger of losing their grant because Tiffany was trying to get even with the Parks Department. Yeah. That's your mayor, leader of the people. So, okay, here we go. Getting control. Okay, be patient. They're just getting control of the FOIA. But Keith Freeman hijacked it. So with Keith Freeman now in the fold, those FOIAs are probably going to get issued. So you're right. Okay, there's something hidden there. I'm not going to go there. Let's see. Yeah, the victimization thing is getting tired. See, the thing is that being a victim should never be a positive. It's something you want to avoid, right? Nobody wants to be a victim. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people really want to be victims. It's self-pity, part of it. But one of the things that comes along with being a victim is entitlement. You think that these things are owed to you because they've been withheld from you because you're a victim. So yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not sure what that one's about, so I'll move on. Oops. Yeah, white people have nothing to do. Yeah, it is pretty much an all-black community, although I'm not quite sure what that person is arguing about. Something I said, I guess. Sometimes you feel like a nut. With Tiffany, it's all the time. Let's see here. And she will see the same ending as Gotti. That's right. He died in prison. And keep in mind, she's not very big. She's going to have a rough time, especially if she doesn't curb that mouth, which I think is impossible. Yeah, I agree with that. Feel free to pipe in if you see something here that you want to respond to. Yeah, he was a real celebrity. Another celebrity was that Japanese murderer, the cannibal. He was a big celebrity along the left, especially in France. That's crazy. And let's see here. And I think this is pretty much the last of it. You can see thousands walking throughout the loop right now. I'm not sure again what that's referring to, but hey guys, thanks for joining on. I appreciate it. I thank everybody who tuned in. I hope you liked it. We covered a lot, but keep in mind, we've only scratched the surface of Tiffany. Ooh, that sounded really rank. This is a massive deal. And one of the reasons why the FBI is going to take so long, there's a lot to uncover here. But we did cover quite a bit of it. Any final comments?
No, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed this.
Likewise, and I'm looking forward to following this closely. I'm going to be Googling it every day because it seems like something's going to come out every day for at least once a week.
I highly recommend Nate the Lawyer and Actual Justice Warrior. They're actually keeping a pretty close eye on this.
Okay.
So when something happens, they come out with something on it pretty quickly. But WGN is the news station that's covering this the most closely.
Okay.
And before I forget, hey, everybody, go and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And like this video or whatever you want to call it, this presentation. I would appreciate that. What's that?
And hit the bell.
Hit the bell. Hit the bell. All right. Take care, everybody. I'll see you around.